My name, as Victoria said, is Esteban Puente. I'm a professor of psychology at the University of Valladolid here in Spain. I'm a forensic psychologist and PhD in forensic science. And today I'm going to speak about a publication we did very recently entitled Misunderstandings and Misconceptions in the Application of Nonverbal Communication in the Spanish Legal Forensic Context, in which Vincent collaborated altruistically, by the way, so thanks a lot for that. So what is happening here in Spain in the Spanish forensic context with the nonverbal behavior? So let's answer first two questions. So what do we mean with nonverbal behavior, and what it is used for in Spain? So for the first question, we are going to go very fast because I think everyone is familiar with the topic. So nonverbal behavior is known as language expressed through the face, body, or voice characteristics. That is any type of communication that excludes words. Nonverbal behavior has long been attempted to be used as a tool for lie detection. It's always caused a lot of fascination, and today we have a plague of technique, tools, theories, and ideas around it. But specifically, what is used in Spain? So we have here a body of behavior analysts who claim to be able to use nonverbal behavior to assist in forensics expert report. In the next question, I will tell you specifically in what, but they usually use nonverbal indicators derived from publications such as the Paulo and Bright, so facial and body indicators, and they use it together with the Ekman work, like the microexpression, for example, and they use body and face indicators in combination with other verbal analysis tools such as SBA, for example. Here in Spain, we have a protocol called Nonverbal Analysis Matrix, that propose the joint use of nonverbal behavior pathways, so the body and the face, to create an hypothesis thesis system. So I will expand on this a little later. So they always have the same philosophy. So do not use one indicator alone, use a set of them. And use together with other techniques. So use facial and body nonverbal indicators with verbal indicators such as SBA. So what is it used for in Spain? So for Spain is used in something called credibility study. So here we do not have expert reports to detect lies. Thank God. We have for the study of credibility. So in Spain, there are certain cases such as intimate partner violence cases in which the testimony of the victim witness can be used as evidence to overcome the presumption of innocence. So these are special cases in which usually such testimony is the only evidence available. So in these cases, what is done is what they have called a credibility study, which consists of analyzing the testimony of the victim witness to assess whether it meets a series of judicial criteria that give it the status of judicial evidence. So in summary, an expert report is requested to validate the testimony of the victim witness, and through this validation, with another additional criteria, the judge analyze whether the victim witness is credible or not credible. We're not talking about lying, so this is not a practice here in Spain. We are always talking about credible or non-credible. So this is exactly where the nonverbal behavior analysts come in. What they do is evaluate the nonverbal behavior of the victim witness to validate their testimony. So here in Spain, very few professionals, as I say, talk about nonverbal behavior and lie. The evidence against is overwhelming, and although some are still a bit lost, really, they have turned to this practice. So they do not use nonverbal behavior to detect lying. They say we use it to assess credibility. This is a new discipline, so we are not using a pseudoscientific practice, so they say. So their objective with nonverbal behavior expert report is to analyze the nonverbal behavior of the victim witness to determine whether it is valid or invalid. And they use the term congruent or coherent, which we will see later, and therefore credible or not credible. So what problem do we have here? Sorry. Okay. What problem do we have with the use of nonverbal behavior in the Spanish forensic context? So the first problem of all is that we observe a general lack of knowledge of what it means to have scientific evidence here. So here in Spain, this nonverbal behavior expert reports always use the label evidence-based, always, or based on the latest studies of international scientific reference, etc. So, and they really believe that they are evidence-based. All Ekman theories are tool, all scientific evidence. All the nonverbal indicators found by De Paulo et al. Are valid scientific evidence. Here, the evidence is understood as a binary variable. You either have it or you don't. And if you have it, which means that they are published scientific studies, anything goes. You can use it. So do you have a technique with 3 questionable laboratory studies with minimum validity published in a non-GCR journal? It is evidence. You can use that technique, go on, mate. So it's terrible. So no, what problem we have with these simplifications is that we need to analyze the viable evidence. For that, we look at the internal and external validity of the studies of the discipline. So let's look at what evidence there is for the use of nonverbal behavior to detect lying, not credibility. First lying, and then credibility. I'm going very quickly for this because this is something well known. So regarding internal validity, we have several studies that indicate that that what has been published in nonverbal behavior has certain methodological shortcomings. For example, the excellent study of Luke Warren observed effects in nonverbal behavior indicators, like those from De Paulo et al., are low and unreliable. They may be overestimated by questionable methodological practice, such as selective reporting of information or running studies with low statistical power. And Luke concludes, as of today, the state of the literature is consistent with no reliable indicators of lying. This hits hard. This hits very hard. So internal validity looks bad, but what about external validity? It's also look bad. So we have mostly experimental studies with little applicability of the results. So recently Matsumoto and Wang developed 2 studies with relatively acceptable methodological quality, but they are studies with low external validity, given that they are practically laboratory studies. And we have very few studies with forensic population. So this is not looking very good, right? We have very low internal and external validity. So we have an area with questionable methodological practice that compromise the findings obtained. So is nonverbal behavior an evidence-based practice as analysts claims? So yes and no. So yes, we have evidence. Okay, we have published studies about nonverbal behavior and lie detection. Okay, but no. Such evidence is not valid enough to be admitted in a judicial process. Not all scientific evidence can be used in the forensic context. This was already stated in the well-known Dover criteria. The evidence must meet certain criteria of judicial admissibility. Otherwise, any laboratory study could be classified as scientific evidence valid for the forensic context. But most importantly, there are no studies in Spanish from Spain population. To date, no study has been done in a Spanish population in Spain to evaluate the capacity of nonverbal behavior indicators to detect lies. And evidently, we cannot be using tools, theories, validated in other contexts and cultures very different from us. But so this alone completely invalidates the use of nonverbal behavior for lie detection for Hispanic context practice. So we have 0 evidence in our context, and nobody's always using it. But okay, we are talking about lie detection, but what about credibility? I said that these experts use it in credibility assessment. That this is even worse. So we have no evidence whatsoever. The use of nonverbal behavior to assess credibility of a testimony is a pseudoscientific practice. So there is no evidence of any kind of the usefulness of nonverbal behavior in differentiating between credible and non-credible people. So the concept of lying and credibility has been erroneously equated. It is argued that what is useful for lying and also useful, it is also useful for credibility. And this is an extremely serious error. We have evidence that evaluates the performance of nonverbal behavior techniques for detecting lies, but not for differentiating between credible and non-credible people. A person can lie and be credible and vice versa. So the evidence is for lying, but we cannot use it for credibility. So strike one, A viable evidence on the user's nonverbal behavior for lie detection has very low external internal validity, and in its current state, it's not ready for its use in the forensic context. If we try to use it to evaluate the credibility of a person, we are directly faced with a pseudoscientific practice, since indicators of lying are used, not of credibility. And we have the second issue, the second issue, problem with the combination between indicators and with other instruments. So the philosophy here is always to use the nonverbal behavior as an additional element. We need to combine with other techniques. So the need to combine with other techniques is usually emphasized. In Spain, it's very common to use, as I said, SBA together with facial and body nonverbal behavior indicators. Even within the nonverbal behavior itself, this is something that it is assiduously pointed out. No one indicator alone will do. You have to combine all of them from all paths. One indicator from the eyes, for example, is not useful in itself. You have to combine them. This is something that we all have heard, but we have a problem here too. So when two or more techniques, instruments, or tools are combined to evaluate the same variable, for example, credibility in this case, or lie, decision rules must be available to establish the status of the variable in questions. In other words, how do we combine the results? There are no decision rules, neither to combine the elements of the nonverbal behavior, nor to combine the nonverbal behavior indicators with other techniques, neither worldwide nor in Spain. So how many facial indicators do I need to determine the person's status? How do I combine facial with body indicators? What do I do if I get contradictory results? So let us consider, for example, an alleged credibility assessment in which three components have been used: verbal analysis, facial analysis, and body analysis. That this is the common practice here in Spain. So what decision rule is followed to determine credibility? How are the results of such combination assessed? What should the practitioner do if the verbal analysis indicates sufficient credibility criteria, but the facial and body analysis results in emotional incongruence? What accuracy and error rate is associated with its decision? So we should have this answer, and nowadays, and today we do not. So strike two. In conclusion, despite the nonverbal behavior expert insisting on the need to combine indicators with each other and to combine indicators with other techniques such as verbal analysis, the truth is that we have no evidence on how to combine them. And the third and the final problem that we have here in Spain with this technique is the final objective of the technique. So the idea of this nonverbal behavior technique or system is always the same, always to evaluate emotional congruence. And if such congruence is not present, there is no credibility in the testimony. So the person is not credible. But what is emotional congruent? This is based on the myth of a single type of victim or the existence of a baseline of emotional behavior of victims. What is done is to analyze the facial expression of the victim witness and compare it to what a victim witness should present in the circumstances. The technique proposed an analysis by levels where the expected emotion is compared with the emotion presented, and it is proposed that if the expected emotion coincides with the emotion shown, there will be emotional congruence in the behavior development, and otherwise, we should raise the hypothesis of emotional simulation. So congruence equals credible and incongruence equals non-credible. So this is pure pseudoscience. So today there is no evidence, either national or international, of the emotional profile of any type of victim in any type of context. And it is not possible to establish what is to be expected beyond making inferences derived from subjective opinion. It is generates a series of extremely dangerous stereotypical reasoning. The victim is the person who, in my opinion, behaves as a victim. This is terrible. So this is a sentence we came across in an expert report here in Spain by an alleged nonverbal behavior expert. So the alleged victim generates smiles incongruent with sexual abuse. So this is madness. They cannot be allowed in the forensic context. So strike three. In conclusion, the technique of nonverbal behavior in Spain is used in credibility processes, analyzing if the emotionality present is congruent or not with what would be expected, which is directly a practice without any scientific evidence. So, three strikes. we are out. What can we conclude is, here in Spain, the nonverbal behavior in the forensics context is no longer used to detect lying, but it is being attempted to be used in other type of practice for which it has absolutely no evidence whatsoever. This categorizes the nonverbal behavior techniques in the Spanish forensic context as completely pseudoscientific, under no circumstances shall be used. In spite of this practice is far from being used from being in disuse, and every day we are confronted with new expert reports on emotional congruence or on the credibility of the nonverbal behavior of victim witness. It is our responsibility as experts in forensic psychology to be trained in the latest advances in order to combat this problem. We cannot admit pseudoscientific practice in contexts where the consequences of malpractice are completely devastating. We cannot have this kind of sentence that the alleged victim generates a smiling congruent with sexual abuse. This cannot be. This is it. Thanks you a lot. Muchísimas gracias. Here you have my email for questions and inquiries. And the original publication is open access in case you want to take a look. Thanks a lot.